Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy. Thy will be done. Always got to pray. Rich Savinci is going to be with us here in just a few minutes, talking about consultants in the workplace. He has a great topic this evening. What I wanted to discuss in this session, and especially in this video, is we talked about the challenges that employers have in the last video that we did and some of the things they need to do to address them. And this session, I wanted to discuss the candidate's responsibility for communicating to a prospective employer what they can do for them based on what they have done in the past. What this centers around is you got to know as a candidate what you are selling, and you've got to sell performance in the past. This is especially true when we run into these 30-minute discussions, either on the phone or via video, that employers are now doing, which seems to be a lot. Well, it's never been like this before. It started out with the pandemic, and then we got into videoing, and then we got into these 30-minute segments. 30 minutes isn't enough to explain much of anything. So if you are a candidate and you are in an interviewing situation, even though it may be scheduled for 45 minutes or even an hour, you've got to remember what you're selling is your previous track record. And you need to get to the meat of the matter as fast as you possibly can when you get into that situation. Remember, you've got to tell stories about your performance. So much of even a 30-minute conversation, it doesn't really, it's social a lot of times, at least 15 to 20 minutes of it. And you've got to realize that if you're a candidate, that it may get social, and you don't want it to get social. It has to be business. You have to be able to say to a prospective employer, I am a good employee and I will do well in your job because this is what I've done in the past. And then you've got to go over every job you've done, be very specific about the things that you've done that you were successful at that are meaningful to that prospective employer. I had a candidate the other day who said, well, I'm a good candidate because I'm just a good employee. I'm a really good employee. And I asked him, well, what made him a good employee? And he said, well, I always get voted as one of the best employees, regardless, relative to my peers, and I'm just a good employee. That's not going to get it. Every candidate says that they are a good employee. Every candidate thinks that they're good at what they do. You've got to be able to prove that to a prospective employer, especially if you have a short period of time to do it. So write out and commit to memory all of the successes you've had in every job. Begin with your present job or your most recent job and come up with 2 or 3 verifiable stories as to why you were successful, what you did, how you did it, and the way you did it. Remember, stories sell and numbers tell. If you can substantiate your success with numbers, you got to do that too. And you've got to send it to the hiring authority, the interviewing authority, after you go over the interview itself. Come up with 3 or 4 stories in each job you've had that demonstrate that you were successful. And the more you can document that, with numbers, the better off you are. You don't have a lot of time to do it. You've got to do it real quickly and very to the point. and don't necessarily wait for the questions that an employer might be giving you. You might very well say, I'm here to explain why I'm a good employee. When I was at this company, I did this and this and this and this, and here is where I can prove it. Here are the statistics. Here are the numbers that back up what I've done and how I did it. And if you can, you want to put it in the context of what the hiring authority you're interviewing with is looking for. You need to find out what that position is. Get as much descriptions of the job that you're applying for as you possibly can. Call people that are presently in the job. Um, Job descriptions that are on people's websites are usually so general and relatively absurd that they really don't mean anything. They may help you, but you've got to know as much as you possibly can before you speak with that employer what that employer is looking for. And then you've got to come up with very meaningful stories and statistics, if you can, about where you've been successful in situations like that. And you may have to cut off the social aspect of the interview, especially in the beginning, in order to get those facts into the interviewing process. It's so important. The last thing you want to have happen is that you get to the end of the interview and the hiring authority really, or interviewing authority, really doesn't know what you've done before, really doesn't realize how you've been successful. Maybe they like you socially and they think you're a wonderful human being, but they don't know why you're going to be a good employee for them better than the other ones they are interviewing with. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashara with the Job Search Solution.